So from 2015 to 2018, you drummed for Big Sugar. They had already released multiple gold and platinum albums. Big, big popular legendary band in Canada. How did that opportunity present itself? I'm a big Big Sugar fan. I had Gordie Johnson on the podcast a few episodes ago, and it was like the highlight of my life. So I'm excited to dive into this part of your life a little bit.
Cool, man. Well, I guess the last little EP we actually did with Gordie Johnson.
And Who's producing, or
he produced it? Yeah. So we tracked him down and we opened up for him when he was playing with Wide Mouth Mason. He was playing bass with them for a bit. We opened up for them at the Horseshoe, and I was like, man, I really want to do a record with you, like do something with you. What can we do? And he's like, well, talk to my manager. Maybe you can come down to Austin, Texas, which was like, that'd be cool. So we ended up going down to Texas and recorded at Willie Nelson's studio with him producing. And it was like, I would say this is one of the biggest kind of turning points in my musical career for sure, because not only did the recording go great and those songs turned out great, and it was great for the band, but at the same time, I kind of had an eye-opening experience with him, just kind of personally. He liked my work ethic. I liked his. He liked what I was doing on the drums. I liked the fact that he liked that. You know what I mean? Like I respected him highly, and he was like, "Hey man, I really like what you're doing on the drums." And it got to the point, I think we were there for a week. I think by the third day, I was alone with him, and I was like, "Hey man, what, like, you like this and you like what I'm doing here. Could I play with you guys? Like, do you ever need a dude? You ever need a drummer to, like, I didn't know the state of his band. I mean, he's had multiple drummers throughout the career of Big Sugar, and he kind of stopped. I remember he was at the board, mixing with his back to me, and he kind of stopped and turned around and was like, "Yeah, man, maybe I might need you down the road. You should start checking out the music." And that was like a life, like a moment for me where the light bulbs went off, and I went home from Austin. When I got home right away, and I just got all their records, which I had at home, ironically, and just started, I'll learn this whole record. And then I text them and be like, "Hey man, I just learned the first record." And then I learned the next record. Then I learned the next record, all the way up until kind of got caught up. Can I join your band now? And he's like, "Well, no, we have a drummer, but I'll keep it in mind." And then I went back to work with my own band, and we were, Daylight for Dead Eyes was a hard working, busy band. We were always playing. And I did that for a living, right? So I was busy. And then one day I got a call. I remember it was a Monday, and he's like, "Hey, this has been 6 months now since I stopped checking out all the music, kind of." And he's like, "Hey, do you still remember all the music?" And in my, like, I was like, "Yeah," but in my head I was like, "I don't remember all the music." Like, no, I stopped, studying this stuff. And he's like, "Well, I might need you by Friday." This is Monday. And he's like, here's the list of 40 songs. Learn them as best you can." And I was like, there we go, back home again, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, learning all the songs, rehearsed with him, and then went to open up for a little band called AC/DC.
It's good to start small, make sure you really know the song.
Yeah, that was my my introduction to, like, I thought I was living in the rock and roll world, but this is my introduction to the rock and roll world. And I survived that gig. And by survived, I mean, I didn't make any mistakes. I did my job. And then after that, I got the gig, and that was it. I think that was a good audition. And then I was in the band for 3 years, and I was in the band when I came into the band. It was all the original old cats, that, like, Gary Lowe on bass, Mr. Chill, me, Gordie. Like, it was, I was and am a man, but I was playing with kind of real men. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, these are some dudes that have been around, and just eating lunch with those guys was a learning experience for sure. Touring with them was awesome. And Gary, the bass player, who has passed away now, became a good friend. And I traveled with him because he was coming from Toronto with me. So we traveled a lot together, and just the stories, man, and the, guys that have been around for that long doing something that you do kind of at a higher level for a long period of time. It's just always a learning experience with people like that.
And do you think those 3 years playing with that quality of musicianship, do you think that elevated your game to the next level?
Yeah, Gordy is I mean, he's a monster musician, like, and he expects a lot from from his drummers. And I loved it. Like a lot of people, a lot of drummers will say that he's hard on drummers. A lot of musicians will say he's hard on people that he has in his band. But I loved it. Like, it was, yeah, man. He wasn't satisfied with pretty good. I mean, and that's kind of a standard I like to keep for myself anyways, but he was like next level. Like, we got to the point where the shows were getting really good and the band was sounding good. And I'd be like, I played a good show tonight. It felt good. And he was still like, yeah, that's pretty good, man. But that third song, that bridge in the third song, you messed up that fill going in. And the last song, it's too fast. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, crushed, because he's the boss, man. He was the leader. But it crushed in a good way, like crushed in a way where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep working harder, and try to please the boss. That's your job as a hired guy. But I saw it as a bigger picture of, no, this guy's pushing me to get better. So I never took it as a negative. I just took it as, hey, bring it on, man. Tell me what I got to do to become to go next level, because sometimes you need someone being hard on you like that.
So behind me, I have kind of a wall of fame. So these are my 12 favorite albums from guests I've had on the podcast. So
Cool.
you got Big Sugar here, Heated, and
Yep.
I got it up in time for the interview with Gordie Johnson to celebrate the 25th anniversary. That's the tour they're on now for Heated.
Yep.
And when I pointed out, he looks at the cover and he's like, damn, I was handsome back then. It was just a funny moment with him.